Notion is learned most effectively through practical application, experimentation, and problem solving. That's how I've nurtured my own expertise over the years as I've collaborated with teams, consulted users, and used Notion independently. And along the way, I've learned lessons that users often say they wish they'd known from day one. So I'm going to share a few that I think you'll find useful regardless of where you are in your own Notion journey. The first one is in virtually every Notion resource that I publish. It's my foremost recommendation for any workspace, and that is to centralize information in related master databases, then create filtered views of that information within contextual dashboards. Nearly every page in your workspace should be part of a database rather than a standalone page. And this approach is going to offer a variety of benefits. Your information will remain consistent, accurate, accessible, and manageable as your workspace evolves. You'll reduce redundancy and vulnerability to manual errors. You'll leverage the full force of Notion's relational data features, which are among its most powerful capabilities. And this approach will allow you to automate contextual views of your information. So let's take a look at exactly what all of this means. Here I have some very simple examples of master databases that you'll see commonly in informed Notion workspaces. So here we have projects and tasks, where tasks are kind of the children of projects. These two master databases are related to one another through relation properties. So for each project, we have the tasks selected, and for each task, we have a project selected. The project is the parent of the task. So what this allows us to do is we can open up a project, and within the project, we can see a filtered view of the tasks database. These are the tasks that are related to this particular project using that relation property. And in a expanded workspace, we're going to have many more master databases within this project view. And for each of those master databases, there will be a relation property that connects it to the project's database. So just like tasks here, we'll be able to see a filtered view of the items from those databases, showing just the items that are related to this particular project. Now, rather than having to create these filtered databases for each new project, instead, we have a project template that has it already in place. So here we have our demo project template. And here we have our filtered tasks database. Now, if we open up the filter here, we can see that it's filtered to show only the tasks where the project, the related project, is this demo project. Now, this demo project, this is actually the template that we're editing. So when we actually use the template, when we implement the template to create a new project, this placeholder item here will be replaced with that new project that we're creating. And therefore, it will show all of the tasks related to that new project. And then all of those other filtered master databases would be configured the exact same way. So you can see here that Project ABC is related to tasks A, B, and C. If we go look at A, B, and C, we can see that they're all related to Project ABC. So that's why we see those tasks within this project page. If we were to open up Project XYZ, we see only tasks X, Y, and Z because those are the tasks that are related to Project XYZ. Now, if we look at areas, areas are a common concept in productivity methodologies, and this term specifically comes from Tiago Forte's para method, which is commonly referenced in the construction of Notion workspaces. So an area is going to be kind of a high-level category of all of the other information in your workspace. So that's why it's related to projects, because we want to categorize projects by the area that they fall into. In a complete workspace, you'd also have resources and meetings and all types of other information, and most of those databases would be related to an area. They would be kind of like children of the area, so that you have the ability to open up an area page and see filtered views of all of those databases, which creates kind of a nice area dashboard, much like we saw with projects and tasks. So if we open up area 1 here, we see a gallery of projects, and there's just one project displaying in this gallery for this example, but this project ABC is related to area 1. If we open up area 2, we can see project XYZ. And if we go back to our projects table, we can see that project ABC is related to area 1, project XYZ is related to area 2. So this works just like projects and tasks did. We have a template within the areas database, and it has this self-referencing filter. We choose this template as the item to filter for, and when we use the template to create a new area, this placeholder will be replaced with that new area. And remember, a live workspace is going to contain many more linked databases, many more than just projects. It's going to have meetings and resources and all kinds of other information. Now, this approach offers myriad benefits, really, but one other notable benefit is that we're able to track the progress of projects. And this percentage here is simply a calculation of the percentage of checkboxes that are checked for the related tasks. So we already have this task relation in place. So when we add this roll-up property, this progress property, we choose that tasks relation. We tell it for the property that we want to pull in the complete property for tasks. That's these checkboxes here. And then for the calculation, we want to calculate the percent checked. And that gives us the percentage of checked checkboxes and thus the progress of the project. So the examples are really endless, but you can imagine doing the same with months and expenses, where you can view expenses by month by opening any page within the months database. You could also view goals by month, among many other items you like to track over time. Another common example is organizations and people, where each organization is related to its employees, and those employees are displayed within the organization's database page. If you've explored my bulletproof workspace, you know that it includes a variety of related master databases in this way. And if you haven't seen it, you'll find the bulletproof workspace at notion.vip/bulletproof. So let's move on to our next principle, and that is to heed the hierarchy. As with most digital tools and organizational systems, Notion is structured hierarchically. You'll avoid confusion if you keep aware of your hierarchical position as you construct and navigate your workspaces. And at the top of the hierarchy are workspaces, which are typically entirely independent. You might have a workspace for work, one for your personal life, and one for a collaborative side project or philanthropic initiative. And within workspaces, you have pages, which you use to develop your own custom hierarchy. Top-level pages live in your sidebar and contain inner pages or child pages, which can have their own children and grandchildren, and so forth. And then within pages are blocks, which are the various types of content you can insert, such as text, multimedia, and databases. And each item in a database is a subpage of the database. You may be familiar with Tiago Forte, who developed the para-organizational method that informs many Notion systems, as I mentioned. And in his post on para, Tiago explains that the number 4 is the limit to many cognitive processes, including the retention of a hierarchical system. Therefore, the structure of your workspaces should avoid hierarchies deeper than 4 levels. So let's go back to our examples and see what I mean by that. So if this was part of a broader real-life workspace where we have a variety of different master databases, we might have all of our master databases stored within a page called the Vault. And those master databases may be accessible through a kind of headquarters or main dashboard, and those databases would be filtered to show only the really relevant items for that contextual dashboard. So areas would be among the items displayed on the dashboard. So if that dashboard is kind of the top of the hierarchy in this sequence, then if we were to click into an area, we would then be into the second level of the hierarchy. And then within that area, of course, we'd have a variety of filtered linked databases, but we're focused on projects for now. So we could click into a project, which takes us into the third level of this sort of navigational hierarchy. And within the project, we see a list of tasks. These are the tasks that are related to this particular project, and that project was related to the bucket that we first click into. So at the fourth level of the hierarchy are tasks, and we need to go no deeper than tasks. This is the bottom of the hierarchy. So this is kind of a microcosm of a variety of different navigational sequences that we can follow within this centralized master database approach. And we never have to go deeper than 4 levels. And this is going to make the workspace much more intuitive and comprehensible as per Tiago's research and resources. So our third principle is to make Notion yours. So Notion is distinguished from other tools in part by its flexibility. Unlike fixed frameworks, Notion is a toolbox and a blank slate for crafting your own bespoke apps without having to write any code. But as with all technologies, that flexibility can be more hazardous than helpful if it's not utilized deliberately. That's why Notion users often reference templates and methodologies as they develop their own workspaces. But those resources are just frameworks that guide you to your own unique implementation. None of them should be exactly replicated. Users often talk about the rules of systems like Para, Bulletproof, and August Bradley's Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults. But there are no rules. These are just guidelines. They're frameworks. So adapt them to your own unique needs. And that flexibility also means that your workspace is never done. It evolves continuously with expanding information, new needs, rotating users, and updates to Notion itself. So embrace the continuous improvement and construct your workspaces so that information is easy to migrate. That's actually another benefit of our first principle, which was to centralize information within master databases. It really makes your information easy to migrate as your workspaces evolve. So let's move on to be aware of what you share. Notion offers a variety of sharing options, and users often find themselves sharing more or less than intended. So keep in mind that sharing a page shares all of its subpages, and those subpages inherit the access levels of their shared parents. So let's look at a simple example of sharing. Here we have just a dummy shared page, and within it we have a child page that would be shared as well along with a linked database. So when we share this top level shared page, we're also sharing this subpage. And if we specify an access level for this shared page, such as full access, can edit, can comment, and can view, if we chose can comment, for example, then the shared subpage is going to inherit that can comment access level. Now, we can increase the access level for that child page, but we cannot make it any stricter. It's going to inherit the access level of its parent, and it cannot be any more strict than its parent. So another consideration to keep in mind is that anyone with whom you're sharing this shared page, in order for them to see this linked database, they're going to need access to this linked database. If you have not given access to the project's database, then this area will be invisible to those who you share this top level page with. They have to have access to the full project's database, which kind of gets to another point. You can't just share a particular view of a database. You can't just share a select few items within a filtered view. Technically, you have to share the entire original database in order for another user to have access to just a few of the items. And this is a subject of aggravation for a lot of users who want to share a filtered list of projects, for example, with clients without exposing all of the other clients' projects to the individual clients. But for now, technically, in order for another user to be able to see the items within a database, they have to have full access to the original database. You cannot just share a filtered view. So we're hoping to see that capability arrive here within the next few big updates. So our next principle is to use icons and to use them consistently. So adding page icons is one of the most effective ways to enhance the overall aesthetic of your workspace. And not only do they improve the look of your individual pages, but more importantly, they look fantastic in references to those pages, including your sidebar, various database views, and inline page links. So one of the best examples of this is my NBA project, which you can find on Notion VIP. But here you can see linked databases for the NBA teams within the project, one for the Eastern Conference and one for the Western Conference. And for each of those teams, the page icon is that team's icon, which creates a really nice effect within lists and other database views. And if you create a link to page block within pages, that icon will appear right there with it, even if it's in paragraph text. So it's really worthwhile to spend the time populating page icons within your workspaces. And when choosing your icons, try to commit to a single library. Monochromatic line icons offer a sense of sophistication and professionalism. And I have another tool called Notion Icons that makes it easy to use these monochromatic line icons. And we have them for both light mode and dark mode, but you can filter them by category, and then you can just click on the icon to copy its URL, which you can paste really easily into Notion. It makes adding icons to your pages really simple and easy. So the last three principles pertain specifically to databases. And the first is that databases are not spreadsheets. In their default table format, databases look like spreadsheets, and many Excel and Google Sheets wizards try to use them interchangeably. But here are a few distinctive characteristics of Notion databases. A database is a collection of items with shared properties, and those items are commonly known as records. So a database of cars, for example, might have properties for make, model, color, and year. And the items are displayed as rows and their properties as columns. So the property defines the value type for all cells within that column. And each cell within a property column corresponds with its respective record. So when a property is a formula that references other properties, it's going to use the values specific to each record. That's a lot to explain out loud. Let's take a look at exactly what I mean. And back to our sample tasks database. So here we have a tasks database. So this tasks database is a collection of tasks, and each of those tasks occupies a row. And for this full database, all tasks, we have a set of properties, and each property occupies a column. And for each property, we have a specific value type. So we have the project property, which is a relation property where we can choose the project for each task. And then we have a person property to assign the person responsible for completing the task. And this input type is going to be a person or a guest or a member of the workspace. And then we have a date property to indicate the deadline for the task. We have a checkbox property to indicate when the task is complete. And then we use a formula to calculate the days remaining to complete the task. And this formula is going to use the deadline property as an input. So we write the formula only once for the property, but we reference the deadline property, which is different for each task. And so for each iteration of the formula, it's going to pull in the deadline for that respective task, and therefore it's going to output a different value for the days remaining because all of these deadlines are different. And then our next principle is very much related, and that is to value the value type. Many frustrations with databases, particularly formulas, pertain to value types. It's important to keep in mind that properties accept specific value types, such as numbers, text strings, dates, and true or false, which can be expressed in Notion as checked and unchecked checkboxes, as we just saw. So this is especially important when working with formulas because functions require specific value types. So going back to our tasks database, we just reviewed all of the different value types for these properties. But the reason that I have this text and number property is to demonstrate the different value types. So these both contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you can see that they're aligned differently. Within the text property, they're aligned to the left because this forms just a text string, even though it's numeric characters. But for the number property, this is an actual number, so it's aligned to the right. So formulas have the ability to use this value to perform calculations, whereas it cannot use this text value to perform calculations. This is just a text string. So text strings can be combined and split, but their numbers cannot be used for calculations. Only true number value types can. So we can see that here at the bottom, we have the ability to choose all of these different mathematical options to perform on all of the values within this number property. But if we were to look at the options for this text property, it's all related to text strings, not numbers. So if we look at the use of these values within a formula, I'll create a formula property quickly here. Choose formula. So say we want to multiply this number by 2. We can reference the number property, and now this is going to input a number for each iteration of the formula, which we can multiply by 2. This gives us the output that we want. But if we were to reference the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within the text property, you can see here that we have a type mismatch. So paying attention to the value type within properties is extremely important. And if you'd like, you can learn more about functions and formulas and their value types at notion.vip/formulas. That's where we have kind of a cheat sheet that explains all of this in greater detail. And our last principle is short and sweet. You just want to be sure to sort all of your databases. Without sorting rules, you'll find your databases to behave in some unexpected ways. And this can be particularly problematic when pasting information from other databases or Google Sheets. So always be sure to define sorting rules and ensure that those same rules are in place anywhere that you're copying information for pasting. So that wraps up my core principles for a mindful Notion user. Hopefully at least a few of these were new to you and will prove helpful as you continue your own respective Notion journeys. And if you have any questions about these or any other Notion related issues, you can find me on Twitter at William Nutt.